So welcome in everybody to a New School Beer Fireside Chat. This is a new series put together by New School Beer since COVID has happened and the pandemic that we're in. Ezra launched this with some great interviews that you can find on the YouTube channel and on the newschoolbeer.com blog. But today we're going to venture into the Great White North of Washington. I'm a Washingtonian myself. I'm down here in Vancouver, Washington, and I've got three awesome guests with me today to talk about the latest responses to the latest guidelines put forward by the state of Washington. I have Michael Parsons with Trapdoor Brewing, Matt Lincecum with Fremont, and Jack Lamb at Aslan. Michael Parsons, I'll start with you real quick. What I'd like to do is give the folks just an overview of what each of your businesses looks like. And what I mean by that is, obviously, all three of you are a brewery, but how many locations do you have? Are you distributed? How many states are you distributed in? Do you have more than one location? And do those locations include a pub? So we can just kind of give everybody an overview of like, hey, here's the business model we're talking about. It'll help provide context as we ask questions going forward. So Michael Parsons, what's Trapdoor's footprint look like? Oh, we're not getting audio from you, Mr. Parsons. Well, Mr. Parsons works on the audio. I'll ask the same question of you, Jack Lamb at Aslan. What does Aslan's business footprint look like?
Well, so we got three locations. We have our brew pub, kind of main flagship location up north in downtown Bellingham. A few years later, we opened just a block away our Aslan Depot, which is home to our barrel age and blending program. And then just this last October, opened our third location in the heart of Fremont, just a really simple tap room. So yeah, I mean, we're distributed all throughout Washington, do spot drop shipments in British Columbia, Portland area, and even in California over the last couple quarters. And yeah, we're just chugging along here.
Awesome. Speaking of Fremont, excellent transition to you, Matt, Fremont Brewing. What's Fremont Brewing's business look like?
I think I got that. I'm only getting about every 6 word. So I think Jack just said he likes my hair. Thank you, Jack.
I do.
Appreciate you saying that. Yep. I like your mustache, man.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
COVID.
The COVID stash. My son has a COVID afro. It's pretty amazing. So is the question, what's Fremont up to? What are we doing? What's our business?
Yeah, what's Fremont's business look like under normal circumstances? Okay. Even just how many pubs, how many locations, what's the distribution footprint?
Okay. Jumping into that real quick, but touching back on Jack with their tasting room in Fremont is pretty amazing. It's an awesome tasting room. We've done a couple collaborations with those guys. So if anybody out there hasn't been, I recommend you're open on Thursdays, I believe.
Oh man, just curbside now.
Yeah. But for the curbside, it's not everyday curbside, I believe. Yeah. Anyway, it's a great place to go. It's a gorgeous inside. And if we ever get to have restaurants again, they have some killer neighbors on either side. So happy to have you all in the neighborhood, man.
Thanks, Matt.
Definitely a great addition. So yeah, Fremont. Okay, so we go. Our distribution is mainly here in Washington. The vast majority of our beer here is, that we make is sold in Washington State. So on the order of like 80%. So outside of that, though, we do hit the West Coast. We go from Alaska all the way down to Southern California, and then we go into Colorado. So our partnerships are distribution footprint is large part based on partnerships. We're in Colorado because I have a great partner there with Crooked Stave and those guys down there. And then we're in California because we have great partners with Stone Brewing, or Stone Distributing. And I'm in Alaska because we have our beer on all flights with nationwide with Alaska Airlines. And to do that, we have to have distribution up in Alaska. So we don't really sell much beer up there, but we send enough up to get it onto the planes to fly all through. And then we sell beer in Japan. Like every great, B-grade rock band, we are big in Japan. We're pretty awesome in Japan. And looking at some other things, this COVID thing, outside the obvious tragedy, but as far as the business side, has caused us to adjust and look at distribution in some other countries where we normally wouldn't right now, because we're really just focused on our backyard here, Washington State, Oregon, California, and then in Oregon, and then Colorado. But as far as the business goes, we have two locations. One is production and office. The other is retail and production. It's the original spot in Fremont. We don't do food. And we only have that one retail location. It's called the Urban Beer Garden. And that's, a decent bit of our business. It's still, it's a really important part of our business. It's what we call it. It's our front door. And, it's the first non-brew pub taste room in the city of Seattle. So we don't have any plans to expand to retail. We were looking at some expansion this year, but that's all on hold. For obvious reasons. And 2021 is on hold too, for obvious reasons. And then Seattle itself is going through a really difficult phase. We're about to get rid of our police, and it's just a total shit show down here. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to be expanding retail here in Seattle anytime soon. We'd like to come up to Bellingham, actually. It's kind of nice, normal place.
Well, that's up to Bellingham, but also maybe consider Vancouver, Washington, where Michael Parsons is at Trapdoor Brewing. Michael Parsons, want to ask you same question. We got your audio back. That's great. So, what's
can you hear me?
Doors set up?
Okay, let me start by, you guys can hear me just fine, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, it's pretty simple. We got one brewery tap room. It's located in more or less Uptown Village, downtown Vancouver. We've got just a 15-barrel brewery in the back. We've got a large patio. We've got a couple of food carts. Patio is huge for us right now, considering the circumstances of outdoor seating only. Yeah. We definitely distribute mostly in the metro area. So we do a lot over in Portland. We also do a lot here in the Vancouver area, but we will take runs. We self-distribute up to Seattle area and Tacoma. So we do a lot of self-distro up there. Mostly packaged beer, not a lot of draft going up that way. We've got plans to open up a second location, which kind of got a little debunked or put back a little bit. We were actually supposed to be open right now this year in our second location, Ridgefield, which was going to be originally was going to be a barrel aging tap room restaurant program out there. We've since kind of reduced that a little bit, and we are still moving forward with the focus of a tap room restaurant out there. But with construction being delayed, that could be winter, springtime. And of course, everything is contingent upon what's going on right now with COVID.
And what is going on right now, for those that may not be familiar with what's happening in Washington, basically a little over a week ago, July 23rd, we had the governor make an announcement. The governor and the health department came out with this announcement for some new regulations regarding breweries and bars and restaurants, places where alcohol is served. Was really what this new guidance covered. We were given a week for implementation. So the announcement went out and said, hey, all of these things are going to happen July 30th. These are going to go into effect. And for those that, again, might not have followed it as closely as I have to follow these things, July 30th came, and with that, some new clarity. So what happened on July 23rd is it was basically said that unless you had a restaurant license and were serving food, you had to go to outdoor seating only. And that covered everything. And there was some gray area there because some folks had a restaurant license, even though they were a brewery. So they were allowed to continue forward in ways that others couldn't. And then July 30th came, and I think many folks moved forward in good faith on what they'd been told. And then clarification came from the Washington Brewers Association that if you are serving food, you don't necessarily need a restaurant license, that you can have some indoor seating, again, with the caveat that everyone seated indoors must be from the same household. That's a lot that kind of shifted around right there. What I just said, was that the same understanding that you guys had and what you experienced as well? You can just nod yes, or
Yes,
that's, I summed it up okay?
kind of. Yeah.
So I'll start with you, Jack, and asking you, how did this most recent shift, the announcements I just kind of discussed there, how did that shift what you're doing? Did you have to pivot anything at your 3 locations?
Yeah. So our Seattle spot is, we share a pass-through window with our neighbors, Local Tide, who are actually opening this week. And they're supposed to open on the 30th. And then I was sitting in that very room when we got the news that we wouldn't be able to basically help them in this whole opening. The whole idea was that, through this pass-through window, you can order their food at our bar, comes through the window, they can use our seating. It's a win-win for both of us. It's going to be this beautiful marriage, and it will happen down the road. But this threw a wrench into everything. It was a full step backwards for our Seattle location. We were one of the spots, and I will kind of call out a lot of these operations happening through Seattle that was actually spreading their tables out by 6 feet and actually keeping their occupancy at way less than 50%. So we were really happy and confident with the safety and what we were doing down there. And all we have is indoor seating. So besides literally 3 little stools outside, and we were thinking maybe we do this hilarious reservation thing where, $100 a seat for an hour at a time or something. But yeah, it's not that glorious. So we're shut down. We went right back to where we were in phase 1 with curbside pickup. I did get a ping, Matt, and want to reassure everyone we are open 7 days a week now, 7 to 3. 3 to 7, just for curbside pickup. So yeah, it's changed everything. I've had to let go the staff that was brought back on, bring my manager down to shared work program, and we're skinny again. We do have the Queen Anne Farmers Market, which is really rad, but they're at risk too. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's just one of these things that my staff is ready to be nimble. They're very understanding. We're doing our best to support them, but at the end of the day, our hands are tied. The brew pub, our main location is doing great. It's huge, open, spacious, indoor seating that, we do have a restaurant license, so that didn't affect anything. Just doing that at all 50% capacity. We're actually at like 30% capacity, spreading the tables out correctly. But the depot was really interesting because it actually is a tavern license technically. And we did have some indoor seating, but it's got this huge, beautiful outdoor beer garden. Now that's where we can have outdoor seating. And so what we did was actually you can now order our food from the brew pub to be walked down to the depot for you. So that has really opened up and made people feel really safe about going to the depot. It adds a whole new element to the depot that now I realize has been missing this whole time. When you add food with beer, people seem to stay a lot longer and buy a lot more beer. So this is great. But Seattle's hurting. It really bums us out because we have some really talented people down there that we just don't have the hours for. So, yeah, we'll see. It's kind of a bummer, right? Like we have food on site kind of across the window, but because it's not in our floor plan, we can't convince them to allow them to remain open because of that. So it's a super big bummer at this point that really, like, you know, I wish they were a little more flexible on, but especially when you're doing it right. But I understand. I mean, at the end of the day, I understand. Like, this is pretty serious. So to say the least.
We may have some. We're waiting for confirmation on this, but as of Friday, we got the news that you know how we both, I believe, offer salumi sandwiches.
Yeah.
So resuming that service plus a basket, and you take a bag of chips, our staff will have to grab the sandwich, grab the bag of chips, put it in a basket. We have therefore provided food service, and then we put it that. Supposedly, we're waiting for that confirmation right now.
Yeah.
But that came down on Friday, which means we could open up indoor seating. You know, we're at 30% capacity too. But
yeah.
So
well,
yeah,
thank
so
you.
hang tight. That could that could change, and I think that unfortunately illustrates what we're all in, which is what's tomorrow. I don't know. I haven't woken up in tomorrow yet. Today is what we deal with today, and it changes. We've all gone back and forth. It changes all the time.
So it sounds, Matt, like Fremont's in a very similar position to the Fremont location of Aslan.
Yeah, like everybody else who just has a tap room and no food. Yeah, we knew about this a week before, just the negotiations. So we shut down our indoor seating for the tap room a week before it was mandated last week. So we've been operating like that for a while, and we readjusted our staff. So yeah, it's not surprising. We're just waiting for this to kind of shake out. Unless we have a very large outdoor area at the tap room, and not that many people. We only allowed like 15 people inside anyway, and it's like 9,000 square feet. So there's a shit ton of room for folks inside. But because the way we wanted to space it out, there's just not a lot of seating inside. So it's not a huge deal for us. But as we look into the winter, that's when we really start to get worried about my team. It's, you know, if we can't see people inside in some capacity, if it's not safe to see people inside in some capacity, I guess is where it goes.
Yeah.
I have a question about winter.
It's going to be hard to stay open, quite honestly. We'll just go back to the to-go only method. And then we didn't let anybody go. That was the goal. The main goal was keep the team together, keep the band together. And we were fortunate enough to be able to redeploy all that. But my wife and I, Sarah and I, had to take out another large debt to cover our bills during that period for the staff. We can't do that again, you know. So yeah, we're worried about the winter, honestly. Worried about where all this is going. So, but at the end of the day, like Jack, I mean, we're not trying to push our business above safety. We need safety to be the science to be what guide us all in our decisions. I think, like everybody else, we're very frustrated that, you know, we're all doing the right thing, and we've been very public about what we've done, and we still can't seem to get our act together on the east side of this state. Now we still can't clearly get our act together at a national level, and you know, I'm frankly losing hope that we're going to see any kind of change to address this in a substantial way until, well, frankly, the election. So I don't know, man. There we go. I think we're in this for the long haul until we get some change, because, you know, we still have people around this state. I think most of us here, we're pretty lucky. I'd like to hear what's going down in Vancouver. But we talked to our friends, you know, in Leavenworth, Pam and those guys at Icicle, and folks in Spokane. They're having a real problem with their customers pushing back and just making political statements, refusing to wear a mask, coming in and making a big deal about not wearing a mask. And I think we're very fortunate here, at least in Western Washington, most parts, except Snohomish County, that people tend to be responsible and not assholes about it. But certainly there are pockets that are just holding us all back. And yeah, it's really frustrating to be a business who wants to do the right thing, keep everybody healthy, get the schools back open, and to deal with these people. It pisses me off.
I want to ask that of Michael Parsons and you, Jack. But Michael Parsons, you received pushback like that about masks and the social distancing in Vancouver?
Yeah. I mean, we've got it, but on a very small scale. We've been very fortunate. Our customer base, we're kind of smack dab in a neighborhood that we've really supported over the years and have equally supported us. And I think most of them are on the same page as we are, that we're all discussing here, that
Right.
we've got to mask up. So we've had a couple minor issues, and I've instructed my staff just to, professionally address it and say, I'm sorry, you're not allowed in here with a mask, regardless of your condition. But if you sit outside, out in front, you can go online, place an order, and I will walk the bear right out and set in front of you, and you can move on. So we're trying to be professional about it, because we don't want to bring politics in it, because it just becomes complicated. But ultimately, we've been pretty fortunate, pretty lucky on the customer base. But we've had a couple of minor things, and I've instructed the staff. I support them, and I'll back them up. If somebody comes down hard on them, I'm here to support them, and just give them my email. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with them. But these are the rules, and if you don't like them, then you can go find somebody else to buy beer from.
Jack, how about up in Bellingham? What's been the response to the guidelines up there from the public?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Seattle, so I thought everything was red up here, and Bellingham's this blue sea and in kind of a red county that, again, it's not all divided that way, but kind of the associations are kind of proving to be true when it comes to, who they're listening to for guidance when it comes to mask wearing and whatnot. So I thought there was going to be more pushback in Bellingham, considering what's surrounding it. But the city of Bellingham, I mean, oh my God, is extremely progressive and are extremely serious about this. So we got more thank yous for having our staff be very diligent about that. We demanded, mandatory mask wearing before it was mandatory type thing. So that's the kind of thing that, we were already ready for. Has there been a case or two where people just doesn't get through their thick skull? Yeah. And it's fine. We just have created kind of a playbook that we've had all of our entire staff sign and understand. And this is how we're going to be treating it. This is even how we take care of ourselves at home. And I mean, it's not a legally binding thing, but it's kind of this commitment, that our whole staff has had to say, hey, no, we don't, just because you maybe think this person's going to tip you a lot if you let them in without a mask. That's not how this works. The more that we can look at our coworkers eye to eye and know that we're all following the rules and the guidelines, then the safer we all are. So I haven't had much kickback. I think it's the growler refills that are really pissing people off. And that still doesn't really make sense to me, but it does. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, we've been lucky to have mostly support.
Awesome. Michael Parsons, I don't think you had a chance to chime in on just what did Trapdoor look like over the weekend? How did that announcement from the governor and guidance affect Trapdoor?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's been really hot here. And so, when it gets really hot, not a lot of people want to sit outside. They'd rather sit inside with AC, and that's not feasible right now. The patio, this time of the year is usually our peak season. So this is when really our patio's packed. We've got a decent sized patio, and this is where we make our money. Unfortunately, inside kind of makes it a little difficult to do this. And I think the bigger picture for us is what Matt and Jack said earlier is what's winter look like? Because that's right around the corner. The rainy season is going to start, and then now all of a sudden I can fit maybe 5 people on my patio and nobody inside. So now I'm having to shut the business down. So with that, we're already looking at spending, money, because that's what it takes. You got to spend a little money, and then we're going to hopefully cover our patio to get as much seating in there as possible. Unfortunately, now you have rules with outside seating to 2 walls have to be open. So you can only have 2 sides of this covered area enclosed, and the rest of it has to be exposed. So we're trying to work that out right now and figure out what that's going to look like. But ultimately, sales were pretty good this weekend considering the circumstances. So we're pretty lucky, and we're going to just take advantage of it right now because we know things will slow down.
On Thursday, this past Thursday, Michael Parsons, I believe you were on the same call with Anthony Anton he's the CEO of the Washington Hospitality Association.
Yes.
And in that call, someone asked a very pointed question that basically the answer that came back was to expect what we're seeing now, this kind of stasis we're in right now with the current guidelines. In fewer words, he basically said, expect this through the end of the year, at least, which you guys have all alluded to this question of whether when things get colder, as they will, end of September, middle of October, somewhere in those 3 or 4 weeks, the temperature is going to drop. The gray skies that the state of Washington is famous for are going to return. The rain will follow it. Matt, I'll start with you on this one. What's the plan at Fremont? I think you alluded to it a little bit that we go back to a phase 1 delivery only kind of thing. Sorry, Matt, did you hear me okay?
I think I got what you said, but I again missed the last bit of it. Where you were basically asking about the winter.
The winter, and does that take you, earlier you alluded to like that may take us back to a phase 1 thing. Is that your plan for the winter?
Yeah, and I'm only getting every couple word, but I think I got what you, if I veer off course, just yell at me or something. So yeah, I think we all need to be ready for going back to phase 1. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully everyone stays healthy and, we reduce the trends, but you kind of see where it's going now. And with the testing lags, we have some really legitimate concerns about our ability here in the state to effectively manage the reduction in the trends here for positive COVID testing and cases. So I think, we're looking at, okay, we're going to be prepared to do this. So we're, cutting back on the hiring and the spends in the brewery and just basically cutting everything back and raises and all that kind of stuff, because we may lose all of our restaurant businesses too, which are just beginning to get up and running. So for us, we are, if we go back, we'll look at losing all of our restaurant and bar clients again. Bar clients now gone. Our restaurant clients will, whatever little bit of business we've all been able to claw back, we just get rid of those again. And then for the on-premise, our own retail, the Urban Beer Garden, our retreat is just to go, like Jack at Aslan's Fremont spot, just to go only. But if we are allowed to go have people drink again inside, it'd be a super limited. And then our outside seating with our tents, I think like Michael was saying, we'll have just 2 sides. And we're trying to figure out, can we do some kind of radiation heater? I don't know, ceramic heaters overhead. We don't know. The hard thing is, you can't just like snap your finger and have these investments in place. It takes time, and we just don't have that. So this week, I think we're just going to pull the trigger on a couple more sides for the rest of the tents that don't have sides, and some ceramic heaters. But all in, that came back to about another $25,000. I think, was it Michael, were you saying this? Like, you're spending more money to do all these protective measures, which is appropriate, but when you're losing money already for the year, it's hard to look at, well, can we spend more money that we don't have to make just enough money to still be not profitable? Like I don't know. It's hard to figure it all out. And the way I look at it is, we need to at least, even if we're losing money on it, we hold the line. We provide a place for our customers to come back. And at least they can have that little bit of normal connection to life at the brewery, be it, inside or outside at any of our breweries. It does provide a little bit of respite, and it does, I think, provide that loyalty. Like if I'm down in Vancouver, I can still come to your spot, Michael, and it's at least not my home. It's more casual. I get to see my community and have that human interaction. And that builds loyalty for all of us. So that's how we're looking at it, but who knows, man? Who
Jack,
knows? It's a really crazy time for all of us.
what are you looking at, Jack, as this moves forward into a colder season? Yeah, I know it's tough to even speculate about these things, but what plans are in place, contingencies anyhow?
Well, it's kind of just like, I mean, we've done this before. We've been in phase 1, right? And the thing I'm not prepared for is if there's phase 0. I can't. My restaurant. Luckily, we have such delicious food that we can. That thing and that food program for pickup really provokes people to grab a beer along with it, and so it really does connect everyone. But honestly, if you look at what phase 1 was, the depot was closed. Seattle was just pickup, and our brew pub was just order online, food and beer to go. I mean, we had one of our managers sitting up front, putting everything together and giving people out the door. And then we had a small kitchen team, which we're really lucky to be able to keep them employed. So that's it. So, it's really tough for me to try and just build ceilings and circus tents around all my, outdoor seating right now. It's really tough because, Matt alluded to something about, we're holding back on hiring, holding back on raises, and I've had to make a couple cuts as well. Our events planner, we don't have any events, there's none of that. Right. And, even to our brew pub management had to be cut. But what we did do was we did say thank you to our brewers, and we gave kind of a whole department wide raise, because that was it was like, okay, guys, either we do this and I can use the rest of my money to buy tents and I can do this. But to me, it was really this thing of like, well, if we're going down to phase 1 anyway, then I need to rely on this wild goose canning line not to blow up, and for us to be able to stay nimble and put everything that we're putting into kegs, into cans, and to plead all the local bottle shops to take it all. So I think that we're, rather than trying to create what is an imperfect shelter options, because if I want to create a awning for something, I want it to be badass and like this big, timber framed, beautiful thing. That's the way kind of my style is. It's either do something that'll last longer than I'm going to live, or don't buy it, So it's really tough for me to use a lot of Band-Aids. So instead, I've kind of turned to really invest into my brewery, in the brewing team, to know that, hey, if winter comes and we have to step back, I'm going to be looking at you guys to keep this thing afloat. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Michael Parsons, your comments as we approach colder weather.
I think a little bit of everything that these guys have talked about is valuable. We're going to cover our patio because it's not like Jack was saying. I'd love nothing more than to have this beautiful timber thing. In fact, it would probably be so robust that our building would fall down before the cover would. But we're gonna probably just throw a cover up, throw 2 sides up, throw some heaters in, and just cross our fingers. I think we can manage to do it at a minimal cost, but it still look good. Putting some lipstick on a pig is definitely what we're going to be doing in this case. But I think the bigger concern I have is, and this is late news as of a week and a half ago, is the can shortage that's rumored to be out there. That if we do go into phase 1 and we have a can shortage, well, we really depended on those cans for us. We don't have a canning line. We have a company come in and do all the canning for us. But if there is a shortage and we can't put things in cans, it's going to definitely make things a little bit tougher if we go back to phase 1. And so that's concerning. But ultimately, I think it's just doing what we can with what we've got. We've equally taken care of our staff members the best that we can, and we're fortunate. We're still pretty small, so all of my staff is working right now, and not maybe what it should be, but they're working, and we're taking care of them the best that we can. And I hope to continue that through the winter. And hopefully by putting that cover up there, putting some heaters in there, that will help to keep staff going. But I think we've done this enough. We've ridden this roller coaster for the last 4 months, and we've restructured business 4 or 5 different times throughout this thing. So if we go back to phase 1, I think we'll be able to manage and take care of things to keep us afloat, assuming that we don't have a can shortage.
Yeah. I should make a clarification here because I know a lot of the folks that follow New School Beer are from Oregon. We've been talking about phase 1 a lot. Phase 1 in the state of Washington is equal to phase 0 in the state of Oregon. So for a clarification for those that may be watching from Oregon, as we're all talking about going back to phase 1, we're literally talking about going back to, that total shutdown to go only model. So just a quick clarification there for our Oregon friends. When this group came together and I found out I was going to be talking to Trapdoor, Fremont, and Aslan today, there was a common thread that I saw immediately in that each of you, to me, I just witnessing from the outside, looking in, you've all done so many great things to be community focused, to even be activists on certain things, to really support your community and get involved in causes. I imagine that's a tougher thing now, but it's so much a part of at least what I see each one of you really is. It's at your core to want to help your community and help people. How do you do that right now when funds are tight and the money is not coming in? Matt, I'll start with you. How do you manage that core expression?
That's a good question. So when this whole thing came down, it seemed like forever ago, but that was 6 months ago, I think, March. So when that all came down in March, I brought our whole team together and pledged 3 things. 1, we wouldn't let anybody go. We'd keep the whole team together as long as we could. And, so far so good on that. But that was the number 1 pledge in everything we do. We'll figure out ways to bring in new revenue, but we're going to be able to try to keep everybody together. So that was 1. 2, we are going to be a leader in our community. We're not going to get knocked off our game. So we may not have much to give, but what we do, we're going to give it because we can't just give in to, kind of the despair, honestly, that is kind of seeping in right now. We need to be able to give something back, even if it's less than we normally would or less than we'd like to. We still can give something that elevates us all. And the third thing was we're going to come out of this stronger and better. So to the first front, we've been able to keep everyone together so far, so good. The second front, we started a program called Heron Rising. And that program had a couple elements of it. 1 was $1 from every sale of our summer ale and our Pilsner, Golden, went into a fund here in King County, our county, for service workers. So basically just raised tens of thousands of dollars, partnered with our distributor, Columbia, on that. And we raised a lot of money to go into this fund. And other breweries did. I know Georgetown did a great program with the release of mayonnaise. But to put money into this program, so if you're in the service industry, you just basically had to apply and you get $500. Super simple, no strings. So we put money into that. We put our time and money and advertising into that and our partner network. And the other part was a part of the Heron Rising project, we worked with local restaurants to once a week, we would go buy food. We'd buy a couple $1,000s for the food from a little, small restaurant. We pick it up and then we deliver it to local community health clinics. So, just kind of virtuous cycle stuff. We ended up spending about $20,000 on that program. And the last part of it was we want to help make our industry more diverse and bring opportunity to more people. So I partnered with folks all around the country, different breweries and different other folks, to create a mentorship program. And this is focused on bringing opportunities to see what it's like to start and run a craft brewery in an 8-week mentor program hosted and paid for by Fremont. And it's to enlarge the opportunities for our Black brothers and sisters to come into the craft industry. So that's what we're standing up right now with this team around the country. And we'll look to have that in Q1 of 2021. So that's where we're going. We'd like to do that right now, but obviously it's not safe. We can't bring people from across the country into Seattle. So we're looking, hopefully, knock on wood, Q1, we can do that. That's what we've done, just stay focused on the goal, keep the team together, give a little bit that we can back to our community. And one thing we do have, like that mentor program, the expertise that we have developed, lessons learned and mistakes made, and opportunities seen, we can share that with other people so they have the opportunity to get into this industry. And then they can sit here and slowly go bankrupt just like all of us.
And that's amazing to hear, honestly. Kudos to you guys for what you're doing there. Michael Parsons, how are you keeping the community at the heart of what you do through this? Oh, we may have lost your audio again, Michael. Jack, I'll ask you while we get audio back on for Michael. Yeah, how are you keeping the community at the heart of what you do?
Well, we're trying our hardest. But at the end of the day, if we don't and we lose the community, we lose Aswan, and everything that we stand for and our business. I mean, it really has from day one been those very people that we reach out to and support that have kept our business alive. So it would be foolish for us to leave that behind and try and think that all we have time for is ourselves. So, I've got to tip my hat like majorly to Matt and everyone at Fremont for being able to make that promise. And though that comes with the caveat, as long as we can, that's a hell of a feat because, that's what keeps our businesses going is our talented employees, and we can't lose that. So on that note, we looked internally. So, as a B Corp, we, live by the triple bottom line of people, planet, and then profit. And I think that, these days, every single brewery's got to have a little sliver of that in one way or another, or else you're just not relevant anymore. But we really hang our hat on it. And something that came up within our staff, and, we're really close and we have these conversations, was kind of this loss of attention to necessarily of our workforce. So we took this opportunity to, on the pillar of community, to really look into our internal community through our workforce and establish better ways that we can bolster our DEI program, diversity, equity, inclusion. And this was a huge, huge step. So, what I'm trying to do is invest also internally in our employees so that when we come out of this, we're actually stronger in being able to connect and speak with other organizations and potentially underrepresented groups that need love. So, we established a DEI program. We started kind of just increasing general communications overall within. But at the same time, it was pretty easy to, we do a beer with a nonprofit at least once a quarter that a significant amount of the sales go to, and we've had a great success with that. Well, our whole plans for the rest of the year just shifted completely to the matter at hand, which is, Black Lives Matter, and also just the raising awareness of the need for safety while we continue to fight for social justice. So indeed, we've literally, made beers that 100% of the profits are going to Seattle King County's chapter of Black Lives Matter. We've tried to make that basically the first button that people can select on all the to-go beers. It's like, oh, you're looking for beer? Why don't you donate before you do that? Because, we can't do that ourselves. We're not as big as Fremont. We're big enough. I believe we're bigger than Trapdoor. But at the same time, it's like we're all small in this together. So it's about what we can do with the assets we have. And so, I wouldn't make a business, and I wouldn't let business continue to go if I couldn't give back. So I think that has always been part of our business model and part of the bottom line. So Matt's absolutely right. It's less than it used to be, but it's surprisingly close, because we've also made additional efforts to allow our consumers to add an additional $5 to their bill, and to make that an easier option. And why the hell shouldn't we have had this whole time is kind of the question at hand. And so, there's silver linings through this. And again, what I hope and what I've been promising and telling my staff is, when we get through this, we will be standing extremely strong. We'll be in a great position to continue to help people. And we will be the example in our community, especially in Bellingham, of the people that followed the guidelines, did it right, stuck to it, and continued to give back while you did it. So, yeah, a lot of internal work. We're trying to make ourselves the strongest force we can so that we stay alive, because I think that that matters in Bellingham.
That's awesome. Michael Parsons, I think we have you back. We're getting close to our end of our time here together, but I want to give you a chance to address this, and I have one final question after this. But Michael Parsons, is your audio okay?
You hear me?
We hear you.
All right.
Good.
All right.
So
Awesome.
what is Trapdoor doing? Again, you are by barrel size and by number of locations, you are the smallest brewery of these represented here today. What are you doing to stay involved in the community?
I think first and foremost, taking care of ourselves within. If we can't take care of ourselves, then how can we take care of others? So I think that was kind of always the big thing for us, is to really take care of our people, work together. Communicate, I think, is a huge thing. It's tough when you're talking about scary things, and it's really hard to share sometimes, but open up with your staff and communicating that, and have kind of an open forum on that is hugely important. Outside, it was just as important for us to make sure we continue doing what we do at the best of our abilities. We did every year in the May time frame, we usually do a program for homeless children. So it's called HOPE. Homeless children don't have school supplies, and they don't have the ability to go out and get some of the things that we have. And so we run a backpack program where we buy a bunch of backpacks, and then our guests, our customers, can fill that backpack for $25 of school supplies and some of the necessities kids need for school, regardless of school being in or out or not. Huge success there with our customer base and the community jumping in and helping us out with this one. It was awesome. So we have thumbs up for the community on that one. And another thing we felt was important is to support local. And during these hard times, it was really tough for us to support local, because we're all wanting to hoard our money. So what we were doing is we were running the delivery program where we were delivering beer to customers, and all the delivery fees were being pooled together, and the tips were being pooled together, and we were giving away a $100 gift card to a local business.
Oh, cool.
And I believe we did that for 15 weeks. And then when unfortunately, we had a scare, we had to close down, and then we had to reopen. So it was really a fun thing, and it was nice to be able to see some of the other businesses out there that we didn't even know about.
Yeah.
Customers were able to go on and comment and offer up a customer that they wanted to get a gift card for, and that's what we did. And it felt good, and it seemed like $100 a week not a big deal in the scheme of things. And it really kind of helped out the customers, and it helped out some of those local small businesses that may have been a lot for them. So those are one things we wanted to stay true to. And I think we're going to continue to do our best with what we have. We are a small brewery. And if we can't take care of ourselves within, then we're not going to be strong enough on the other side of this to take care of anybody outside. So I think our focus still continues to take care of ourselves internally and then outside.
Awesome. I've got just one more question that I want to encourage each of you to answer this super succinctly, super briefly. What has been throughout the entire coronavirus thing we've dealt with, what has been your best return on investment during this time? The one thing you'd say, I'm glad we did that. Jack, I'll start with you. What's the one thing?
The sticker label applicator on cans. We went from having like 2 or 3 SKUs at the local Whole Foods and Co-op to literally 9, I think, at one point, because we were like, oh, the brown ale, yeah, let's make a label for it and put it in. Oh, the ginger ale, yeah, let's make a label for it and put it in the cans. So that flexibility, I mean, and the fact that we've upkept all those extra parts that we bought for the Wild Goose, having a guy that can run the Wild Goose canning line and fix it at any moment, those are my best returns on investment.
Awesome.
Thank you, Brew Team. Thank you, Brew Team.
Michael Parsons, your best return on investment.
Wow, that's a tough one, because we've done so many things. It's hard to really put my finger on one specific thing. Best investment, I think, is yet to come. Honestly, I'm really hoping that covering this patio is really something that's going to help us, because if we are able to move forward with this thing, assuming everybody follows the rules, then we'll only benefit our business more so, because now we can fit more people outside as well as inside. So I think that's yet to come. So fingers crossed, covering our patio, getting that dialed in, getting some heat, getting ready for the winter. I think that's going to be our good investment.
Matt, your best ROI during coronavirus.
Well, right before we got back from Italy, where we were just commissioning a new keg line, and I would have said our new kegging line, but that was changed with COVID-19. So honestly, I think, like Jack, I think Michael were also saying, our people, investing in ourselves and investing in our people, so we can stay strong. And we're different, I know, because we're wholesale, so we don't have as much of the retail dependency. So we're a little bit more able to keep everyone together, because most of my business is still alive. But yeah, investing back in the people and investing in our community. And as we go forward in the last part of the year, we're trying to invest in hope in a very dark time. So if anybody out there is listening, I hope that you vote, because that's where our hope seems to be. So vote.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, please.
Great.
Yeah.
Vote.
Absolutely.
How engaging it was, and I'm not surprised. Obviously, I know Jack and the Aslan crew, but Michael, to meet you, and it's no surprise that all of us in various parts of the state are all still community-minded. We're down on one knee. We're in a tough spot. Our kids, our families, our communities are hurting. But these breweries are still thinking about how can we contribute and give back, and honestly, 12 years in, that's why I still love being part of this team. I'm proud to be part of this community with you guys. So, thank you.
Agreed.
That's awesome. I don't know how I'm supposed to wrap this up now and sign off, because those words were incredible. Invest in hope and vote. And thank you guys. Thank you guys for this time. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us and share what's happening throughout the state of Washington, up and down the I-5 corridor here. I think a lot of our brewers who subscribe to New School are going to find a lot of value in this time. So we really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Bye. Good luck.